can be seated. We'll begin with the words of Psalms. Mizmor leDavid Adonai roi lo echsar. Binoteshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit sal mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umi shantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zorerai, Dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai liorech yamim. Psalm of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I think the psalmist who wrote this psalm is speaking to God and is saying, in the face of death, I won't be afraid because you are with me. You, God, are with me. But we who are walking in the valley of the shadow of death, I think we could equally be saying it to Amy. We are afraid, but it brings us some comfort because you are with me. You, Amy, are with us. And that will have to be some comfort in the wake of this loss. Dear God, you are the author of life and death. Who can question your ways? We live in a universe that is beyond our comprehension, and we are forced to adapt ourselves to circumstances and conditions beyond our control to alter. The why that forms in our hearts and all but bursts from our lips, it goes unanswered. The world around us remains indifferent to our questions and gives us no satisfaction while these questions gnaw at our innermost beliefs. So we have developed a vocabulary, inadequate such as it is, which includes words like chesed, kindness, grace, presence, compassion, for moments such as these, when we try to support a family bereaved who ask us to help them bear a burden which may be too much for them to bear alone. A wise person once said, there are times when God asks nothing of God's children except silence, patience, and tears. Silence because the pain and the illogic of the death of a young, strong, beautiful woman like Amy is overwhelming, too overwhelming for words. Silence is the best response. Patience because we know that we, the living, have no choice but to endure with abiding faith that somehow for us life must go on. And tears because in expressing our sadness, that helps and it heals, even as it hurts. because the depth of our sadness is a mirror image of the extent to which we loved Amy and she loved us. The ancient rabbis asked the following question: Ematai hakadosh baruch hu modia letzadikim hayoker shemetukan lahem. When does God reveal? When does God permit us to see a person through God's eyes, the true pricelessness of a human being? And their response is samuch lemitatan, only at the time of their death. We love and treasure our family and friends during life, but as we confront the reality of death, we come face to face with the enormity of our loss. It was just last week that Amy was here in this sanctuary in a blue Cookie Monster costume. She was here to celebrate Purim with her family. It was just 2 weeks ago, as she came home from the hospital, that we shared a glorious, sun-soaked afternoon in the park. There was an intergenerational game of ultimate frisbee. Amy didn't play, but she was happy to watch Boaz and Daron running around with the Kelmanovich kids and Cantor Kaplan. And I could tell she was soaking in every moment. She was enjoying a snuggle with Noah sitting on her lap, even as her body was failing. We all couldn't quite believe that she had come straight from the hospital to the park. But we were so grateful that she did. So grateful to share an afternoon outdoors with each other and with Amy. It was just a few months ago that Amy and I went out for a cup of coffee. She had questions about the afterlife. She wanted to know what happens after we die. And I looked at her and said, I don't know, I've never died before. What do you think? I think she appreciated that I wasn't going to offer her some pious cliches from our tradition, some dogma in that moment. There's a time and a place for that. But I think moments like these demand honesty and humility as we stare together in the face of terrifying uncertainty. Most of us choose to ignore the reality of death most of the time. Amy didn't have that luxury. She told me that she believes in energy in the universe, and that when we die, our bodies are buried, and the energy that our bodies store returns to the earth and enables new life to grow. I told her I liked that. We agreed that it's best not to dwell on these topics, but to embrace the moment of the present and to enjoy the coffee that we were sharing together. We talked about her dog, Gus, and how Gus had been her trusted companion through some of life's difficult transitions. And she shared some of her hopes for Boaz and for Noah, for her children, and she told me how they imbued her with such a strong will to live. She was feeling stronger. She was determined to get better. She was getting better. And when I visited her in the hospital just a few months later, even though the doctors had told her that treating the cancer would do more harm than good, she was still taking job interviews. So committed she was to looking ahead to the future. She said, I'll do it on the phone instead of doing it on Zoom. I was amazed. And when I was about to leave, I asked if we should say a prayer together, and she agreed. So I said, what are we praying for? And she said, pray for peace for my children. And then she paused for a moment and she said, and a miracle for me. And so we prayed for those things. The miracle we were hoping for was not meant to be. And so here we are. But Amy's life was a miracle. That she was able to accomplish so much. That she was blessed with 2 incredible children. that she brought so much beauty and joy into this world. For all those miracles, we attempt today to find a little bit of courage and say in the language of the season, Dayenu, knowing full well that it is not enough, that she deserved more, and we deserved more. But we will have to say Dayenu. It will have to be enough for us. We're going to hear from a number of people this morning. As you'll hear, I'm sure, Amy was a friend collector. From her very youngest ages, she collected friends wherever she was, and she kept those friends her whole life. We'll hear from family who are broken because of this loss, but we're going to dwell today on the gratitude that we share for having had the privilege of knowing Amy. The first person I'd like to call up today to speak and to remember her friend is Katie, Amy's childhood and lifelong friend.
We are honored to have the opportunity to speak about our beautiful, dear friend, Amy. We are Jen, Katie, and Wendy, Amy's closest friends from Ardsley, who have known Amy for what feels like forever, whether we met her in nursery school or kindergarten or middle school. Our friendship with Amy feels remarkable in that none of us can remember a time over all these years where we weren't close or deeply connected from when we were very little until now. It is an incredible thing to have a true lifetime friendship with someone, and we feel so fortunate to have had that with Amy. There is so much to say about the amazing and inspirational woman that Amy was, but we want to focus on sharing some thoughts about what we will cherish and take with us, knowing Amy as we do, as a sister and a forever friend. Amy was our go-getter, our planner, always charting the course and leading the way. She was the first to do everything, the first to reach out to make plans and get her friends together, the first to ask Katie for a play date when she was the new girl in school, the first to land a job and move out after college, the first to step up and handle the full order when the waiter came to the table. Amy always knew what she wanted, and she wholeheartedly went after it. She was proud of her quirky, artsy, intellectual self, yet she was the opposite of pretentious. Amy had a humble confidence that supported her fierce, lifelong determination, but also allowed her to have fun, laugh at herself, and learn from mistakes, like the time she cut very short bangs or got the Monica haircut.
Amy made genuine friendships from every stage of her life. Amy made genuine friendships from every stage of her life. She created a beautiful universe in which her friends and family from all over felt included, and we all knew each other. She was lavishly generous with her career perks, always inviting friends to the US Open and creating memories for us, even when she was running around working in the heat. There was always an open invitation to Shabbat and all the holidays. She was a true connector. It's one thing to bring people into your life, and it's another to keep them, and Amy did both. We are so lucky to have known Amy as we did throughout her life, through all the different parts. We knew Amy as a true artist. We remember being blown away by her portfolio in middle school and high school. She even won contests. She could always rock any fashion and style, and continued to do so even in sickness, glamorous in red heels, attending the opera just a few months ago. Amy traveled the world. She loved art and culture and wasn't afraid to try any food. She influenced our taste. She introduced us to sushi for the first time. She shared her love of cult films and alternative music. She was just so cool. And Duran could see it right away. He was her partner in crime, jet-setting around Europe, cruising around Brooklyn in the Ducati, designing their dream home, always looking fabulous. We are thankful that Duran was dedicated to being Amy's strongest advocate and cheerleader. He always made sure she had something special to look forward to, like getting friends together when he knew she needed them, and taking a family trip, or organizing a cheering squad for Amy's New York Marathon debut. This really helped keep Amy positive and hopeful, even in the hardest of times.
Amy led such an accomplished life, rich in friends, family, career. She traveled the world, but to her, her most significant achievement was family and motherhood. The journey wasn't easy, but she was determined. And now we look at Boaz and Noah and see her greatest creations, the loves of her life. We could go on forever about our friend, but we want to finish by sharing some promises we made to Amy. Last week, Katie, Wendy, and I promised Amy that we would carry on her phenomenal legacy. Specifically, we promised that we will share her stories with Boaz and Noah, stories that convey and celebrate who she is as a person, a friend, a mother, a professional, and so much more. It's remarkable to think that the three of us were already close friends with Amy when we were Boaz and Noah's ages. So here we go. To Boaz and Noah, Katie, Wendy, and I promise that we will be accessible and make time for you. For many years to come, we want to laugh with you about funny old stories with your mom. We want to tell you about how she held our hands and guided us through tough times, and how she always led the way to celebrate the good times. We will tell you new stories that become more relatable as you grow up. Yes, we have a lot of stories. If you will let us, we hope you come to think of us as your own friends, or more likely your crazy aunts. Most importantly for all of us, and this includes all of Amy's friends, we hope that being together will keep her incredible spirit alive. We'll always love you, Amy.
Thank you to Amy's childhood and lifelong friends. Next, we're going to hear from Rachel Small, who is a friend of Amy's from college, went to Michigan together.
I met Amy the first week of college at the University of Michigan. And while I'm generally known for having a poor memory, the day we met is clear. It was the first weekend freshman year, and I was introduced to Amy by a girl who I knew from high school. It turns out she had met Amy over the summer at orientation. I can still picture Amy that night. She was wearing dyed brown Levi's and Doc Martens. She had big hair, because it was 1991 after all, a big smile, and a definite cool girl vibe. She was fun and irreverent, sarcastic in the best way, and had great taste in music. While the girl from high school and I were never close, Amy and I clicked right away. Soon after, we met Alon, and a special trio of friendship was formed. In all of my memories from our days in Ann Arbor, Amy played a central role. We spent freshman year hanging out in our dorm rooms, listening to music, spending time with friends, and ordering late-night chapatis from Pizza House. After that, we were roommates living off campus together with Alon and then Stacy after she transferred to Michigan. We spent our days the way college kids do, a few hours of classes and studying, and many more hours of watching TV, playing cards, and hanging out with friends. During our junior year, Amy and I both spent a semester abroad in Florence. Although we were on different programs, we did have some memorable adventures in Italy. One weekend in particular, we went skiing with a group of friends in the Italian Alps. At the time, Amy and I both hardly knew how to ski. So when we found ourselves at the top of an intimidating mountain, she graciously took one for the team and faked a knee strain so we could head inside for a nice lunch and cocktail in the safety of the lodge, avoiding serious injury. After college, fortunately, Amy and I both settled in New York City. In our 20s, there were a lot of nights out in the East Village, usually with Melanie too. As we grew older, nights out became dinner dates. Amy was a major foodie, and she always kept an eye out for interesting new restaurants she wanted to try. This worked out really well for me because we were frequent dinner companions. In fact, meeting Amy for our regular dinners has been a true constant in my life. With our mutual love of sushi in general, and omakase in particular, we had so many incredible meals together in Manhattan and Brooklyn that we jokingly referred to each other as sushi wives. And with each dinner, we enjoyed the time spent talking, laughing, catching up, and staying connected. Our most recent dinner date was barely a month ago at Sugarfish. Amy looked beautiful that night, and she was in great spirits, feeling better than she had in months. We marveled over the incredible quality of the fish, in particular the albacore, and had a great time, just as we always did. As so many of you know, Amy also had great personal style. While most of us New Yorkers like to stay in our comfort zone of jeans and a dark top, Amy would effortlessly throw together distinctive looks with interesting pieces from her travels, designer items from her days at Barney's, and kitschy cool accessories, possibly adding a glamorous hat or sunglasses. Somehow she could always pull it off. And her great taste wasn't limited to her fashion sense. Anyone who's had the pleasure of being invited to Amy and Duran's home can plainly see that together they made an incredible interior design team. Amy was also a fantastic gift giver. Each year for our birthdays, Amy, Alon, and I would buy each other presents. Alon's birthday comes first on the calendar, and Amy and I would always consult with each other about her gift. This usually involved me suggesting one or two things, and after politely considering my ideas, Amy would come up with far cooler and more interesting options. This gift selecting process always worked well when Amy was one of the ones involved in picking the gift. Things were infinitely harder when it was Amy's birthday, and Alon and I, both of us being much less creative and stylish than Amy, were tasked with picking out a present for her. If we were lucky, we could just buy her the very gift that she'd already picked out for one of our birthdays that had just passed. But if she happened to already own that item, we were pretty much screwed. Amy was someone who was admired, even among her friends. With her creative talents and work ethic, she achieved incredible professional success for many years in fashion and then at the USTA, where she really shined. I was always impressed by the energy and dedication that she brought to her professional life. I believe she truly loved what she did, and it was so much a part of who she was. Not many people can say that. And while Amy's talents and strengths were undeniable, she was not without endearing weaknesses. One of these was her habit of misusing words. When we were in college, she would sometimes have me read over her papers to help correct any word usage mistakes. This came up again years later, after I graduated from law school and was applying for admission to the New York bar. I asked Amy to complete my recommendation of good moral character. Imagine my surprise when I looked over what she'd written and read that, in her opinion, I would be a great detriment to the bar. Thankfully, she was willing to change it, and we laughed about that one for years. Along with our frequent dinners, at this stage of life, Amy and I had the pleasure of spending time together with our families. We spent many weekends at our home in Carmel, New York, swimming in the pool, cooking, the boys always playing so well together. We also spent family time together in Bethany Beach, Delaware. Even with her many accomplishments, nothing brought Amy more joy than her role as a mother to her beautiful children, Boaz and Noah. And what a superb mother she was. And I know that Duran's devotion to the kids and the love and the care that he shows as a father are some of the things that she loved most about him, too. Through it all, the connection of our group from Michigan, Amy, me, Alon, Melanie, and Stacy, has remained strong. From our Meet Me at Ashley's text chat, coming together for girls' trips and b'nai mitzvahs, and visiting each other whenever we can, we all cherish being together whenever possible. This past October, for the first time in decades, we all went back to Ann Arbor for the weekend. This is something Alon and I had been talking about for a while, but in typical fashion, nothing got done until Amy got involved. after which hotels, flights, and football tickets were all booked and purchased in short order. And even though Amy was struggling while we were there, it was truly a special weekend being back on campus, going to the football game in the rain and spending time with our old friends, Lewis and Noah. Above all, to me and so many others, Amy was an incredible friend, the absolute best. She cared about the people in her life and made sure that you knew it. She always stayed in touch and never failed to check in for important milestones, updates on family, work, kids, trips, schools, you name it. More importantly, though, she was just a fun person to be around. At the end of the day, if a friendship can be measured by enjoying your time together, there was no one I would rather spend time with or go to dinner with than my sushi wife, Amy.
Next, we're going to hear from Josh Nathanson, a lifelong friend.
I can tell you that I really don't want to be here, because I don't really want to be anywhere where the bright, flaming light that was our dear friend is not there. I've known Amy since we were kids. Technically, I'm one of the Ardsley girls, too. She was always this incredible, bright, energetic flame of light. She was always somebody that brightened up every room she ever walked into. I remember from parties in high school, the flatness until Amy arrived. And then she would come and lift us all up, and we would feel her energy. We worked together at the Ardsley Country Club, and it was the same thing. I'd pick her up sometimes to go there, and we were working. Just having her presence there was an energy, was a light. I was fortunate enough to visit her a couple times in Michigan, and I could see the same thing there. And then she moved to Manhattan in the late 90s. The ultimate career girl, the ultimate professional. And that fire, that light, turned into a bonfire. She just raged her way through. She went from job to job. She had an incredible circle of friends. She lived in a range of neighborhoods and apartments. And the career success was just so impressive to watch. I remember for one of her jobs, it was the first or second day on the job, and we were supposed to have lunch. And she called me and she said, "I have to reschedule. I'm meeting with a headhunter." I said, "Amy, you've just started." She said, "Yeah, but you never know. You never know. It's always good to, I've got to keep myself out there and active." I also remember, I think it was the job at Barney's where she was interviewing, and I was helping her craft the follow-up thank you email, the response, and we decided that she should say, "It was incredible meeting with you. I have a whole range of ideas," and it sparked some thoughts. And much to her shock, the CEO said, "Great, I'm free this afternoon. Can you come in and share those thoughts with me?" She was panicked, but in typical Amy fashion, she proceeded, she did it. The brightest, strongest light, the biggest skill she had was as a friend. She was the world's greatest friend. It was incredible. The love and the compassion and the focus and the attention, the gifts, as Rachel said. When Brett and I got married, we met her in Duran at a restaurant a week or two later, and Amy arrived with this decorative stand-up potter's wheel that was like almost the size of her that she had schlepped down 10th Avenue. When she would come stay with us, the gifts were just amazing. And as Rachel said, it was so hard to buy anything for her. You know, going to therapy is a great thing, but going to Amy, that was amazing. There was nothing like that. She was honest and compassionate and caring and unfiltered and willing to say things that were hard to say and to be critical sometimes. That light, that attention, that energy was always so bright. Amy and I had the platonic version of the text, "You up?" It would be late at night. It would be on the commute to work in the morning that our conversations would span the entire drive from Williamsburg to White Plains. And when any of us were cold or depressed or uncertain, we would bask in that warm fire that was Amy. She would warm us up. She would enlighten us. She was the marathon torch of all of our relays. We would all take that torch from her and take that energy, and it would make us feel stronger and loved and empowered. And she had her share of life obstacles and challenges and difficulties. But she was so strong. She burned her way through any obstacle that came her way. There were moments of being overwhelmed and setbacks, and she would take a day or two and then rise up and inflame and figure it out and figure every obstacle out. Even the cancer, even the last few years of illness, she was able to navigate it and find comfort in all of our support. A lot of the chemo nurses and the doctors couldn't believe that there was always somebody there. There was a new cast of characters constantly. The first session she went to, I think there were 6 or 7 of us there. There wasn't room even for that, but that was the kind of energy that she drew. And even last week, when that flame was flickering, even then, there were moments where she looked at us and we felt that from her. And I just always felt better every single time I saw her. I was always more anxious and worried going to see her than I was returning, because it was always so comforting, and she was always concerned about us and apologizing and empowering. I really don't want to be here, but I'm here channeling my inner Amy as a person who put one foot in front of the other and just figured it out and did the things that needed doing. And she's left this bright red ember in all of us. And the next time you feel anxious or lazy or uncertain or you don't want to do something, just blow on that little ember that she's left all of us inside and find that strength.
Thank you, Josh. Next, we're going to hear from Gordon Smith, a coworker. They work together at the United States Tennis Association. Come on up, Gordon.
I'm Gordon Smith, and I'm the former CEO of the United States Tennis Association, and maybe Amy's greatest fan. I'm here on behalf of the entire USTA family, many of whom are here today. It's a sad day as we come to grips with saying goodbye to our great friend Amy, and yet I can't help but smile. First impressions are important, and I'll never forget my first impression of Amy. Our Chief Operating Officer, Andrea Hirsch, who became Amy's great friend, and I were interviewing for a Chief Marketing Officer. And we had many candidates come in, and none of them got it. They all wanted to be the Chief Marketing Officer of the U.S. Open. Wow, what a feather in your cap. You get to market the U.S. Open. But the thing is, the USTA's mission is to grow the game of tennis at the grassroots level. More kids playing, more adults playing, more healthy tennis players out there. And most of these people didn't get it, but Amy did. And the U.S. Open was just one tool to promote the game of tennis. And I'll never forget when Amy came in. It was like a breath of fresh air. No jaded marketing executive, our Amy. She was a fan. She was funny, excited, energetic, engaged. She brought us a photograph of herself playing tennis in high school. She got it. And we walked out of that room, Andrea and I, we looked at each other and we said, that's our next Chief Marketing Officer. And so she was. And she was a great one. But she wasn't just a colleague. She became a friend to so many of us. She brought all kinds of things to the USTA. One of them's been mentioned already. Her great friend Janet Hanasick said, what she brought to the USTA, which we really needed, was style. No one brought style like Amy. Janet said bold, unique, confident, in a word, fabulous. Janet also told us about Amy's style of communication. She said that many of them used to say, we need an Amy to English dictionary. Her mind worked so fast that it didn't all get down in the email. Sometimes there was no punctuation. Sometimes there were no verbs. But you always understood it. You always understood it. Andrea recalls a morning when Amy had not worked for us very long, and she had just gotten that fabulous Tesla. And she was trying to get it to go into reverse, but she got it to go into drive, accelerated directly towards our cafeteria window. And Andrea was in her office right after this happened and said she looked completely petrified. But fortunately, the Teslas had the ability to stop themselves, so the cafeteria was spared. What Andrea really recalls is Amy being a life mentor, a great listener who always supported her, and who taught her to keep a brave face and let things you can't control roll off your shoulder. Rashina Warren recalls many good times with Amy, but one in particular after the 2022 U.S. Open. They were celebrating with a bottle of our sponsor Moet's champagne after blowing out their goals and hitting 1 billion engagements during the U.S. Open. Amazing. I recall some great times with Amy. I recall sitting next to her at a dinner given by the Sports Business Journal, where they were going to announce the sporting event of the year in competition with the World Series and the Super Bowl, you name it. And the U.S. Open won. And it was so great, and it was so exciting, and it was so great to share it with Amy, because without her, we'd have never gotten that award. I also recall we did a retreat in Florida, and our fun activity, we went fishing. And I have a picture of Amy. She caught the biggest fish, and she's holding this great big fish out with the biggest Amy grin you have ever seen. Such memories, you can't make them up. I could go on. Amy was family at the USTA, and she was loved. Boaz and Noah, your mom was a great lady, a rare human being, incredibly talented, loyal, smart, quick. She never said no, and she never gave less than her best. Amy left us way too soon, and we could obsess on that, but I choose to remember that day that Amy came into our lives, the joy she brought, and the legacy she left. She'll always be a part of us and will always live in our memory.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear from a few family members. First, I'd like to call upon Doron's father, Amy's father-in-law, Benoit, who's going to share some memories of his daughter-in-law.
Dear family Kohn, dear family Wesly, all the people gathered here to show respect to my daughter-in-law, Amy, which I really call my own daughter. I met Amy, of course, when she started dating my son, Doron. I never forget the meal we had at Gallagher's, my favorite steakhouse. And then I knew that my son was going to get in a different world. And Amy and Doron managed their life. They loved each other very well. A couple of weeks ago, Doron, Boaz, Noah, and Amy came to Marbella in the south of Spain. And we had a wonderful time. We walked together beside the beach. We had wonderful food. We saw a nice movie several movies on television, and my son, Doron, fell asleep. We talked not too much. Amy never complained. She is a very, very strong woman. I'm very grateful to you, Amy, because you gave me two beautiful grandchildren. Well, we'll never forget this. Boaz and Noah, we love you and we will back you forever and ever. Amy, the journey is over. The struggle, the battle, the fight. This is for everyone a sad day, not for you, Amy. Because I hope that Hashem, our God, will bind you in the bond of the living, and that you may be escorted by the angels into Gan Eden, and that you find peace and rest. You deserve that.
Amen. Next, we're going to hear from Amy's brother, her younger brother, significantly younger brother, David, who's going to come on up.
Josh, you said it well. I don't want to be here. I want to first, on behalf of my family, thank everyone. Thank you for coming here today, but not so much for that, for honoring Amy and being here for us, but really for being in Amy's life. She loved you all so much. You were all able to share her love for fashion and music and movies. Some of you maybe even got to enjoy her bouillabaisse. I'm sure Josh did, right? Each of you meant the world to Amy and made her life wonderful. So for that, I thank you. As I'm sure you guys all know, I'm Amy's younger brother, and I was very lucky to have two wonderful older sisters. Debbie is 12 years older than me, and Amy was 10 years older than me. And that was a little unfortunate for me, because for a long time, I was just their annoying younger brother. But from an early age, I was well aware that I had two cool older sisters. I feel that I finally broke through with Amy when I was around 18 or 19 years old. I remember it vividly. I went to a Fish concert with friends in Long Island and was joined with Amy and some of her friends. I remember it so well because Amy said to me, "I'm so happy that you turned out to be cool and we could hang out." It might have been the first and last time anyone's ever called me cool. And Alon, as a side note, I definitely said congratulations before sorry. If you remember that story. I'll tell you later. From that point forward, I felt that Amy and I became friends. When I graduated from law school and moved to the city with my wife Mia, we found an apartment that was around the corner from Amy. It was the best thing ever. We got to hang out all the time. We just saw each other on the street. We walked the dogs together in Central Park. We went out to dinners. And when Mia herself was treating for cancer, Amy was right there to provide comfort and support every day. As many of you know, I was so proud of my sister. From the journeys in my life, all I did was bore people, bragging about Amy's accomplishments. How could I not? She was my favorite high-powered fashion executive and sports marketing genius. When Amy started working for the USTA, we got to share another bond over our love of tennis. I mooched so many tickets off of Amy. I know you're all laughing because you did too. But really, those were the most special times for Amy. How many of us get to say that we go to work and get a rotation of our best friends and most special people to come visit? She loved seeing every one of you there, and it meant the world to her to be able to share that with everyone. I could go on and on about all the special times that Amy and I spent together, but it really changed when both of us started our families. Even though we were 10 years apart, my son Elias was born a year before Boaz. And after all the years of me getting advice from Amy, she turned to me for advice on parenting. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. We had so many laughs about the kids, and she cherished the fact that the friendship that Elias and Boaz and Julia and Noah would share meant the absolute world to her. Duran, Boaz, and Noah, I promise that we will always be there for you. We will celebrate your mom, who I'm so lucky to have as a sister and best friend. When I was driving with my family and Debbie this morning, I told Debbie that I ran out of stuff to write. And I couldn't really think of what else to say and how to end. I was kind of designated by my family to speak today, but this was really a job that was reserved for Amy. She was the one to speak at all these things. She always knew what to say, so I kind of thought of the things that I will carry throughout life and the things that I can help give to everybody, which is be like Amy. Give 100% to everything that you do in life. Be like Amy. Find a trendy, overpriced restaurant and go enjoy it. Be like Amy. Pick an outfit out that you love and wear it and don't care what anyone else thinks. Be like Millennium Amy. Live in the present. Be like Amy. Cherish all your friends and your family and spend much time with them. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, we're going to hear from Amy's father, Erwin.
As of late last night, I wasn't going to speak today because I didn't know if I can complete anything I say. The situation is, this is the opposite of the way it should be. She should be up here. I should be down there. It's very difficult to face that. You know, I stand in this temple next to the ark, and sometimes on the top of the ark there's a saying. The rough translation is, know before whom you stand. I know before whom I stand, and I say why. I have anger. It shouldn't happen. 5 years ago, when Amy was diagnosed with cancer, I changed my ways in a way. I had my relationship with my children, all three of them, and at that time in your life, you usually communicate through text or phone. And I started saying after every phone call now, at the end of my phone call, I love you. I never did that before. It was always bye or, and from that day forward, I say I love you each time to each one of my children, every time I communicate with them. I don't know what else to say. Just that, Amy, I beg your forgiveness if I ever wronged you or made you sad. I didn't mean to. I loved you dearly. And I promise you that when every time anybody asks me about my children, I will always say I have 3 children. The past tense will never pass my lips about my daughter or my children. I have 3 children. Just one of them is a different type of relationship. She'll always be mine. I'll never forget. I can't say anything. I also want to thank everybody who spoke and everything. I don't deserve what I have. I don't deserve my children, basically, comparatively to what I thought I would have. They're wonderful. My wife, everything is. So thank you very much for coming. Sorry if this was just off the cuff. I didn't write anything. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Erwin. And finally, from the family, we're going to hear from Amy's husband, Duran.
Amy, Amester, Mom, Mama, love of my life, my partner in life for life, 282 Kabbalat Shabbats, 130 oncology appointments, 95 chemo sessions, 82 scans, 40 scuba dives, 18 years since our first date, 12 years this week for our wedding anniversary, 5 major surgeries. I skipped the 7 US Opens, 6 months of hell, 3 homes, 2 kids, and 1 love. Amy and I, when we started to know each other, every time I asked her for some audacious idea, her response would be, "But you don't know me." Upon which my response was, "And that's why I want to do something crazy with you, to get to know you." In 2011, when she was living in Philadelphia, I came to visit her, and she had this cork board in her kitchen with 4 words on it. We were friends at that time. We weren't dating. And it said life, family, friends, and peace. And we talked about that often as we were preparing dinner together. Those 4 tenets are core to who we are. This is how Amy was brought up by her family, by Erwin and Leslie, and her beautiful aunts, and Grandma B. She had more. I didn't know everybody. And this is how I was raised up by my father and mother, Benoit and Bella, and my grandparents. And that bonded us. We didn't have a regular dating life. We just had a goal, and those were the goals that we wanted to have, and we felt comfortable that we can have them together. I'm grateful today. I'm smiling today. I choose to smile. I'm grateful for what you've been in my life and what you still are in my life. I'm grateful for the memories that we have. I'm grateful for the children that we built together and created together and cherished together and loved together. I'm grateful for seeing the world together with you through the ups and downs of life. I'm grateful for dancing with you. Gosh, you were good. I'm grateful for you being such a good mom and always helping me become a better me with the kids, toning me down, pushing me forward, teaching me, showing me, guiding me. I'm grateful that you pushed us to go to Montclair. I was so against it, and you were so adamant. You wanted a community more than we had in Williamsburg. And boy, did we get one. Between Goldark Academy and Congregation Agudath Israel, we have a whole village that is sustaining us throughout all of this. And will sustain us as we move forward with you, looking over us. I'm grateful that you're not suffering anymore. This last 6 months, you've tried very hard to keep it away from people about what the hell you were going through. But you were in excruciating pain. No one should ever suffer like you have. And I'm grateful to the Almighty God for making it stop, because it was inhumane for a person with so much humanity in her. I love you. You're part of our life forever. I promise you that our kids, Boaz and Noah, will always be part of the joint family. I promise you that they will get the best possible education. I promise you that I will not take them away from this community that we've built together and cherished together. I promise you that they will become incredible people like you've envisioned them to be. Rest. Go for a walk with Gus now and Chester. Help us through these dark times in the Middle East. Help us be the ray of light that you are always. I love you. Godspeed. This is not a goodbye. I'll see you later.
I don't think there's anything I can add to these beautiful tributes from friends and family except just to reflect back. You can see how much one person can affect so many. And that should inspire us to live our lives in a manner befitting of Amy's legacy. I'll just reiterate what others have said. To Boaz and to Noah, there is no substitute for a mother's love and presence. Nothing we can do can replace that. But think about how many people here love your mom, and by extension love you. And we're going to be here for you. She'll be missing from so many important moments in your life when she would have loved to be there, and you deserve to have her there. And our promise, as your mom's friend said to you, is that even though it's painful for us, we're going to continue to talk about her and remember her and share pictures of her so that you can continue to learn about her as you grow. Pictures like that time she saw that blue and white coat in Marbella and she had to have it, and when she got it, her face shined. We're going to share all those memories with you so that you can have them as well. Erwin and Leslie, no parent should have to bury their children. Our hearts break with you. And Duran, we want to mention the special burden that you are carrying at this moment. We are here for you. I want to thank you for being such a devoted caregiver to Amy. You sent us all texts with lots of emojis telling us what was happening with her so that we could send wishes. Of course, it wasn't always simple or easy. Amy told me one time she knew you were oversharing when you were writing one of these text updates, and you asked her, "How do you spell catheter?" And she said, "Don't put that in." And I just want to echo what your brother said, what Arden said last night when he said, anyone who could tame my brother deserves a couple of medals. Tyrone, we know how difficult these last few months especially were for you and how hard they were on you. It's unbearable to see a loved one in pain. We hope that you feel peace even amidst the grief, knowing that her suffering has ended. To everyone who is here today, your presence confers upon you a special responsibility to continue to be here for this family and to care for them, to love them, and to keep Amy's memory alive, not just in the week ahead, but in the many weeks and months and years ahead. They're going to need that support for a long time to come. I'll conclude by saying it was just 3 days ago, Friday evening, and family and friends were saying goodbyes, coming to Amy's bedside. We talked about her. We talked to her. We didn't want her to suffer anymore. And as Shabbat was approaching, we held hands and we said prayers. And Duran and I held hands with Amy, and Shabbat was about to begin, so we sang Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the angels to come and surround us, to join us. Come to us, O angels of peace. Join us, angels of peace. Accompany Amy on her journey. We said, Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom. Go in peace, angels of peace. We sang the Shema, and she left the world on Shabbat, and now we pray that Amy is at peace. Tzedchem l'shalom. Yehi zichar baruch, may memories of Amy Wesly be a blessing to all those who knew her. Amen. Please rise as we recite the memorial prayer. Cantor Kaplan is going to lead us in the memorial prayer in accordance with our ancient customs because he's a Kohen, he's a member of the Kohen, the priestly tribe. He's not in the room, but he's joining us from outside, and he'll recite this prayer in memory of Amy.
El male rachamim shochein במרומים המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אסתר שרה בת יצחק ולאה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן, בגן עדן תמנוחתה אנא בעל הרחמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר
El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. To the soul of Esther Sarah Bat Yitzchak Veleah, to the soul of Amy Wesly, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say Amen. Can be seated for just another moment.
This concludes the services here at the temple this morning. The burial will take place at New Montefiore Cemetery in West Babylon, Long Island, New York, at 1180 Wellwood Avenue. Those of you that wish to join the burial ceremony, we ask that everyone meet prior to 1 p.m. at the cemetery office. We will then be congregating and forming a procession from the cemetery office to the grave location where the service will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll add that Shiva is going to be happening throughout the week at Duran and Amy's home, at Boaz and Noah's home, 25 Mulford Lane, in Montclair. That's going to be tonight, beginning at 5 through 9 p.m., with services each night at 7:30, and during the week 1 through 3, 5 through, I got that wrong, 5 through 9 with services at 7:30. Thursday night, Thursday afternoon and evening, there's also going to be Shiva in White Plains, 25 Rockledge Drive in the East Building in White Plains, New York. And that's going to be Thursday, 3 to 5 and 7 to 9. We hope that this community will come to offer comfort to this family during their time of need. At this time, I'd like everyone to rise once again. We're going to invite all of her friends from childhood, the Ardsley friends and Michigan friends, who are going to come and serve as pallbearers as the family follows behind and we escort the casket out of the sanctuary.